Our next expert, our next world expert will give the outlook on the current situation. Sergei Pоспелов, Russia, Executive Secretary, Collective Secretary Treaty Organization, former First Deputy Chief of Staff of the Russian Duma, Associate Professor at the State University of Management and at University of Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So Sergei is going to talk a little about state measures in Russia, government decision-making during crisis, social agreement change, digital services, and private versus private space. So welcome, Sergei. We're giving you the word.
Thank you very much. And the three topics, I corrected them while James was talking because he covered a few things I was going to talk about, but I mostly want to talk about the social contract and the change of social contract in Russia, in other countries, and in the world as a whole. So for the first topic, my subtracts are less privacy on web. That's the first one. That's probably the trend which we're going to face. Next one is the real digital government services. I don't know about different countries, but I've heard from my colleagues from United States, from Italy, from Spain, and even from China, that they announced digital government services didn't work properly in the time of crisis, and it showed that we really need to work on that. But according to Moscow digital services, I can tell you that they were developed pretty well, and I used a lot of them, and starting from banking services to digital learning, all kind of services were available, pretty easy to use. So the next thesis I want to bring up is the basic unconditional income. It's already being practiced in, I think, in some Scandinavian countries such as Finland, Norway, and Sweden. And I think that's the world trend in upcoming years too. Medical chips as one of the issues being discussed very widely, especially in Russia. I don't know about other countries, but it's been on media last several days in Russia about medical chips being patented by Microsoft. And the last but not least, need for direct contact with government. We see that the need for this direct contact is very critical in this situation, and not too many countries are ready for it. So these are the first lines of my topic I want to bring up. I don't know which way to go. Maybe it's easier to talk about the first topic and then to switch to two others. The other topic I want to bring up, just to announce it, it's going to be a new business, new economic reality, according to microeconomics and macroeconomics, and new political relations. And also, I want to bring out a topic, new points of government investment. It's also probably could be interesting for our listeners. So first of all, maybe we can talk about the new government behavior and the new social contract. Just to enlarge a little bit on my things I put on paper here and just pronounced. First question I want to discuss with all of you, since we have a discussion, I want to make it a little bit more discussive than we had before. How society will react to new technology coming. We definitely see that the new technology is coming, and this coming is accelerating. And how society will react. Does it really ready to accept changes in this space or not? And probably my solution, which we see now, is from government side, is personalized government decisions. As we see now, government in Russia is bringing different rules for different type of businesses, for different social groups, and I think it's a world trade also. So my cure is, if I may say so, is personalized government decisions. And first questions is new technology versus the society contract. Let me rephrase it. The new coming technology versus the society acceptance of it. So are we ready for it or not? Maybe someone will come up with the questions. I'm ready to discuss it, because I don't see. Yeah.
Probably we're gonna refer to the things James was talking about, like tracking. Tracking people, like in times of pandemic, for example, technology and like implementation of this technology into the society. How does Russia see that? How do you see that? Like how this technology can be, implemented in the Russian society for raising the effectiveness and efficiency and the speed of problem solution?
Well, as far as the technical point, as far as the technical side concerned, I don't see any difficulties, because I think it's quite easy to track anybody on cell phone or IP or IMEI, which is going to be connected to your phone, and some countries already do that, like China or any other Asian countries. And in Russian Federation, we already have the law introduced, the draft of the law introduced to all of the cellular devices to be connected to the IMEI. And I think it's our future. And if you don't have anything to hide from anyone, I mean, you don't have to be afraid about it. So, and that will protect your devices, protect your information. But on the other hand, we have the social contract. Are we ready to sacrifice our digital freedom to the security issues? That's the discussion in all of the societies, I think. And this crisis showed that we are going to drop some of our privacy features. And if we want to overcome such crises in future more easily, that's what I think.
And we've got a question coming up: how are governments liable in respect of data security?
Well, Russian government being criticized by lots of liberal media that we are making our digital companies to store digital data of our citizens in Russia, but I think it's for our national security is very vital. You see, for a digital economy in the world, the basic the new oil for digital economy is human data, is personal data. And if we want to protect our citizens, if we want to protect their information, we have to store their data in Russian Federation on our servers and hard drives in the territory of Russia. So, I mean, that's kind of obvious.
Let me, if you don't mind, let me just answer that, and then I'm going to go and feed my children. So I think that's interesting what Sergei said about data protection. I mean, I think as I mentioned in my talk, it's one of the things that you're going to see coming out of this. On the one hand, I think more countries are going to take the attitude that Russia is taking, India is doing the same, of requiring more companies to keep data within their own borders. And that, although it has positive security benefits to some degree, that is going to be an example of the deglobalization that I talked about. So it makes it much more difficult if you're an international technology company like Alibaba or Amazon or Google to run businesses off the cloud if you have to deal with all sorts of competing different kinds of data regulation. But I think in a more direct sense, you're going to see the pandemic itself creating more requirements for data sharing and data monitoring. I mean, you definitely see this in China, which already has quite lax data regimes, but all around the world, I think you're going to see a relaxation of rules designed to protect privacy around the pandemic, to try and allow public health authorities to track and manage this outbreak. The worry of that is then, well, what happens after that? Public policies that are brought in times of crisis have a habit of sticking around, and so sometimes these are good things. So in the United Kingdom, income tax was first introduced during the Napoleonic Wars as a temporary measure in the early 1800s, and then it never left. It just stuck around. There are all sorts of other kinds of measures that are brought in during war times or times of crisis that then last after that. Now, some of those are good, and it's good that they stuck around, but some of these mechanisms of surveillance that are going to be brought in during the pandemic may end up not being so positive if you're worried about governments reading your emails or knowing where you are at any moment of the day or night. And so I think this is going to be one of the things that we have to grapple with, that the risk of excessive levels of surveillance are going to be brought in by countries because of COVID-19, and then are going to be quite hard to get rid of. So I think Sergei makes a good point about both of those things. And with that, I'm going to apologize for not being able to stay to the end, in particular not being able to hear Francis, who I'm sure will make a fascinating contribution. But those of us who've been homeschooling our children have children to go and look after. So thank you very much for having me, and I'm going to leave now, and I hope the rest of the discussion is good. So goodbye.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James.
Take care, James. Thank you.
It would be great to get you back. Yeah, like if you have a chance, join back. And we are continuing the session here. Sergey, like we've got a question. Probably like we can connect it to the advanced democracies James was talking about. And the question, like in the new paradigm, do we actually have a choice concerning personal data leaking, and that's getting as a new norm?
Well, we already live in a new reality, and the data leaking is happening right now because Zoom is not protected. Anyone can join, and anyone can see who I'm talking to and who are together, and we are all in the same project right now. And so while you're surfing the internet, you are sending your cookie files, and big companies 24/7 searching for information how to advertise their products on our social media, in our iPhones. And even if you have Siri turned on, even if you're sleeping and someone is telling something to you while you're not listening, the Siri is listening, and in the morning you will see the advertisement on your screen. So it's already happening. So I mean, we have to be aware of that. And but the new technology is coming to our life as an inevitable part of it. First, I mentioned is medical chips. I mean, we can discuss it, do we want it or not, but it's our reality is coming. The information about your health, you will have to share it with government 24/7 eventually. Maybe you will have right to limit it, but I mean, I'm not protecting the supporters of such things, but I'm just saying it's our future. That's where we're coming, and the real work of society and the social contracting and the work of government is to create such conditions in which social contract will work for the unity of the country, and will not break it into two parts. So that's exactly the topic I want to bring up. What governments should do to make social contract work effective, and to be ready for a fast changing reality base. So that's the main topic. Nobody has the answer to the main question. Nobody has the answer to, and also I want to, in connection with this, I want to say we will easier self-limit ourselves soon. We already do that. We easily tell anyone or I mean anyone, we send SMS where we want to go next hour, just to have the right to come out, and we don't say anything. We say, okay, it's fine. It's for the sake of limitation of disease. And but we do that now just because we know it's going to end soon, and it's not going to stay eventually, like James said, that it's going to be forever. So, but that shows us that we have to be ready for a change of social contract, not in the pace as we had it a few years ago, but it's going to change much faster, and the government and the society has to be ready for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's a comment, as an IT specialist, I'm sure internet now couldn't be secure at all. Yeah, just probably like in this regards, like this development, digital development should take place. And you know, there was a question before that, are we expecting the general decline of economics in Russia? Because there's been like, I mean, there's been kind of a wave of layoffs in all the sectors. Some sectors were damaged, some sectors were damaged a little less, but still, are we gonna expect some decline, general decline in economical situation in Russia?
Well, we definitely see in all countries that it didn't come without any change for any economy in the world, and we just saw the graph which James showed that it's going to be pretty bad for all the world economy. It's what it was, -3%. Of course, for all emerging markets and developed markets and Russia as well, it's going to be a hard time because we see many businesses stopped, and for example, in the United States, we see 30 million unemployed. We see in Russia also the rise of unemployment, and we see many businesses going bankrupt. They're not going to go bankrupt now, but I mean, eventually this year or maybe next year, it's going to be hard for them. So definitely we're going to see that. But the main topic for government, the main issue is how to, first of all, how to put businesses on pause, and then how to recover them. So I was an entrepreneur for 10 years before I went for government service in 2014, and my younger brother is an entrepreneur, and he is facing lots of difficulties. But I may say that he already gained a loan vacation from the bank for 6 months, and some of the taxes being dropped by Moscow government. It's a help, but it's not enough, and I think we will see lots of efforts by world governments trying to overcome the economical crisis. But it's not going to recover this year. I think we'll only see the recovery next year or 2022.
Thank you so much. I'll give a word to our participants. Like, somebody has got a question now in regards, like, regarding this subject. So preferably the video question. So while
while we started talking about business and new economic reality, I want to bring up a few things, if you don't mind.
Sure.
If nobody decided for a question. Okay, so the first one is it became quite evident that businesses without web share, I mean internet share of their business, not viable, and it became very evident. And maybe it's good for economy because the faster the new businesses and old businesses will switch to new economic reality, the better recovery it will be, the faster recovery it will be. And the second is liberal economic values have to be supported by government investments and the government invasions. And it became evident that markets themselves cannot survive. They definitely need government support. But again, coming back to what James said, it's if government support is going to stay as a government surveillance, it's not going to work for markets. So it's very important for governments to understand when to push and when to release. So, and also in macroeconomics and new government, new political reality is that coming back to the story with oil prices of -35, of course, for a person who doesn't know what the hedge funds are and what the future contracts are, it's kind of strange that something can cost minus. But it's it's kind of normal. But for me, it showed that pricing, especially on stock market exchange, no longer useful for economy, and it's appeal to be unfair. So probably, and we will face a new economic reality in prices of and pricing on stock exchange. So we're definitely going to see that. And of course, we see a new approach in international relations. We're going to face that upcoming years. In general, I think we will see the rise of new international institutions or a great renovation of already existing international institutions, such as World Bank or maybe even United Nations will be faster. It's been already big talk about it. Probably it's going to be faster renovated, I might say so.
I've got a question, like direct question. The participants asking, have we been through the outbreak already, or like we're facing it?
I'm not in medical service, so I'm probably not better to comment, but you all see the numbers. And as far as Russian economy concerned, I think we have to come up with something not to lose it.
We have also a question from Vitaly. Am I right already, Vitaly? We're gonna turn on your microphone. That's it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello, Sergey. I have a question. Current situation is forcing to use digital technology. What do you think? Will it lead to development in this direction, or after epidemic, all companies and governments will come back to previous methods and technology without digital?
Well, it's a good question, but I think I partly already answered it. Put an answer to it. So the first thing is, it was already clear that without digitalizing, the company is not viable, and the crisis showed that it's true, 100% true. And well, of course, people tend to forget bad things very quickly. And probably companies will come back to some old-fashioned ways of doing business, but definitely it's going to change a lot. For example, I have a friend. He's running a company which is transport company, and he had an office where the IT staff was working, and he was renting the office with 2 floors where people sit and do a lot of work. And when they all had to work from home, he said, "Well, I see no difference." So he cut his expenses on renting the office 2 times, and now he's renting only 1 floor. So it's bad for the landlords, but it's good. Maybe it's good for the company. We'll see. We don't know now, but we definitely will see a switch in economy to digital services. We see that offline service economies harmed very hardly right now. European countries, American economy, maybe Francis will say more about it. So, for example, if you have a restaurant, if it's closed, I also have a friend who has a restaurant. If it's closed, you don't work, and people after quarantine, they don't come to you twice a day. They only come once, or maybe they don't double their appearances in your restaurant after quarantine. That's what I want to say. So just to continue answering that question, maybe in a little bit broader way, I will see a new investment interests of governments, of private businesses. It's going to be biotechnology, ecology, and medicine. And that's what we definitely see, a rise of investment. We already see that. Just one fact that you may see how many patents in United States been issued last few years in medicine, biotech, and that's already been trend, but now it's accelerating.
Sergey, let's get back to the measures. Probably you can tell a little about that, about stimulus, and should we expect more support from government for citizens directly, like it's done in US and Japan as well? What measures going to be taken, and as well prospects, foresights, and any support from government to the small, middle businesses and citizens directly?
Yeah, it's rather controversial question, actually. Yeah.
Well, actually, I cannot speak for Russian government. I quit working for Russian government in 2006. I mean, in government, and then I switched to Russian Parliament, and now I represent international organizations. So I may not speak on behalf of Russian Federation right now. But as a Russian citizen and someone who knows situation from inside, I may say that, of course, measures being brought up by government are not essential. And we all agree that, and even government says that it's not essential. And we will see the third block of government measures, which are going to be brought up today and tomorrow, and the president talked about it yesterday. And probably we will see a lot of stimulus for businesses. For example, right now, I don't know, maybe you all know about it. I'm pretty sure you do. Maybe Francis know a little bit less, but we already have loan holidays for businesses for 6 months. Some taxes been dropped on federal level and on local level. We don't have the direct help from governments to our citizens, such as, for example, $1,200 did the U.S. government, but we have it in a different way that government supported businesses in frames of salaries. It's not enough, of course. We all know that it's only minimum wage for every working person in the company, but still there is some stimulus going on. But again, it's there is no single cure for every country. So, for example, in Russia, we have free medical service for everyone anywhere, and some other countries, they have insurance medicine, and it differs us from different country. But the main thing, what showed us, this crisis showed us that the governments have to learn to react more fast, and fast government decisions have to be made. And that's what we all learned about, and I think it's going to be a good lesson for all the governments. And if those governments who will survive this crisis and will continue to be on political arena have to take in their mind that fast decision making is a new reality.
So we've got a new question coming up. Thank you so much. Actually, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Does it have any future? And the next, we're talking about digital economics, but we haven't disrupted technology for that, and government wants to return it to the previous model.
Digital currency is also a reality right now. Me personally have a few digital coins and use them once just to try what is it like, and I know a lot of people who are in trade for digital coins. I have a friend who is a farm owner. I'm in digital farming, digital mining, and again, digital currencies is a social contract. I mean, if we all accept digital money, it's the value exchange means. So, for example, right now, you won't find a single currency in the world. If we take ruble, if we take dollar, if we take euro, any other currencies, it's also being accepted as a part of social contract. We all accept green papers or white papers or black papers for exchange of real goods. So the same happens with digital currency. If this is internet society or real society accept digital currency as as something to be paid with, I mean that's gonna exist. For example, right now when the crisis hit, a friend of mine, he said, "Well, is it time to buy Bitcoins?" I said, well, if it's going to hit $4,000, probably it's time to buy it, because $4,000 is equal to electricity, what it consumes to be mined. So it's probably time to buy it. But now you all see today, what is it, 9,200? So it's going to be with us, but probably governments will protect their economies from digital money, because if government doesn't control the emission, it doesn't control the economy, and if government doesn't control economy, it controls nothing. It's all about economy.
Right, and moving on to the next question about like bouncing back from, so now everything is going digital and we are like trying to develop the technology and technological systems, but as well, probably Vitaly had a question on that, like, are we gonna bounce back when pandemic is over?
Well, I hope we're gonna bounce back in education, because as I see an example of my kids who are 9 and 10 and 13. I mean, it is interesting as an experience to have a long distance education, but for the sake of their future, I think it's very important to have a personal interactions with a teacher, and so I think that in education we're gonna bounce back. In visual services, I think we're gonna jump forward very rapidly, and in some offlines we will see the decline in some offline businesses. I don't know about different countries, but in Russia we definitely see some closures of offline businesses. And as I already previously said, that we also will see definitely the need for new digital services for the offline companies.
Yeah, and you talked a little about the market share, like web market share. You think companies will go digital in this respect? Sergey, thank you so much. It's been a great honor for us.
Thank you, the same for me.